Hey, my name's Dan. I've been a type 1 diabetic for over 35 years and want to share a little bit about how I kind of perceive diabetes having shaped and formed my life. First off, a little bit of my personality. I confess I'm probably a little bit of a drama queen or dramatic, whatever you want to call it. So that probably informs a lot of this. But when I was a kid, I definitely saw myself as a bit singled out being a diabetic. Like I said, I've been over 35 years, so I was around five, a little before I was five, when I got diagnosed, and always felt, like I was a little bit left out or that whole thing. And I know lots of people feel that way, and if I didn't have diabetes, I'm sure I would have singled it on something else to kind of solve the drama a little bit. But yeah, that was formational. Certainly a lot of activities that were a little bit riskier for me, and kind of felt a little outside of things. I'm very very pleased that there's so many groups online now where folks can connect and find other diabetics. But I was pretty much the only one that I knew for at least the first 9, 10 years of being a diabetic. I'd never met another one except for the doctor's office where you'd see someone else kind of waiting to go back, and most of them were older. So yeah, that kind of stood out for me and was formational. I don't know what everyone else's experience, but for me, it did lead to a pretty deep pattern of seizures, especially at night where I couldn't feel my blood sugar dropping. I would respond with a seizure, and those were scary. I saw how it impacted my family, scaring my brothers, stressing everyone out, and your body's a shot. You're for the next day, it feels like you did like 1,000 sit-ups because your core is just shaking, and those muscles, you're not controlling their movement, but you're still using those muscles to respond, biting my tongue, stuff like that. So you feel awkward and kind of you're embarrassed. You feel like you let folks down. So that recognize it was kind of a big part of it. I did get diagnosed with epilepsy in 2006. So with some treatment there, that's almost eliminated those risks, and I can, even if I get low, can still stay coherent and responsive enough to go and get some juice or something that can help. So praise God for that. But for a long time, those seizures were a constant threat. I confess, and not, I hope this isn't super awkward, but even as I was dating and wanting to get married and look at life and such, kind of a prerequisite in my mind was just wanting to be with someone strong, both emotionally but also physically. Just someone who could maybe, handle being with me if that were going on, because I did not hadn't been diagnosed with epilepsy at that point. So my wife's been just amazing partner in working through that and helping me. But it's a strain, it's a stress. It's she looks to me for strength a bit, which I'm thankful for. But she's also seen me at some pretty horrible lows, which I don't know the full impact on that for her, but it's something that's a part of my life. And you walk through, and everyone's got something. I don't think I'm unique in that, but that's how diabetes has kind of shaped me in that regard. It also made me a little morose. My doctor, we had a diabetes educator. I don't know exactly if she was a nurse or exactly what her role was, but there was some scare tactic stuff when I was young that I feel like kind of left a bit of a doomsday kind of gloss over things. And when you really look at the stats, I mean, yes, on average, a type 1 diabetic might have a life that's shorter by 8 years, and there's risks of different things and failure with your feet and eyes and such. But really, with modern treatment, you can live a very full, very productive, very healthy lifestyle, and it's quite manageable of all the things that are out there. I can go days and not have any impact of feeling the disease that I have, where that's not the case if you have lots of forms of cancer or things like that, for instance. But it did leave me kind of oh, this is what's going to kill me, again, the drama. So I think two things from that. One, it made me maybe take some risks and be a little ambivalent about my well-being. I think of things I did while I was learning how to drive and just got my license and some of the crazy stuff I did then, or yeah, just some foolhardy decisions that just didn't really care at times. And, teenagers are teenagers, but that's just one more factor that kind of weighed in on how I made choices and how I value things in perspective. But at the exact same time, it also forced me to think about, life and death and brevity and counting your days and wanting to make them count. So even though on one hand, it kind of made me a little flippant, sometimes on other hands, I think it gave me a little bit more seriousness about life because it's precious and it's temporary, and also made me ask questions about, well, what happens after life? And I think it's helped form me spiritually and my faith and such, that I think it's good for people to ask, well, what happens next, and to ponder those kinds of things. And some people don't do that until a lot of life is already gone, where I did that before I was 10. I kid you not, I would just sit there and wonder about these things and wanted to have those kind of answers. And that shaped me a lot. I did kind of limit some freedoms. I know there was some groups I was a part of that would change their entire plans of, if we had a weekend away, well, Dan's going to be with us. And it's kind of hush hush, but it worked one way for years. And all of a sudden, because I'm going to be a part of it, they change how it works to make it safer, to have a nurse available, those kinds of things. So that was, you're aware of it in the back of your mind or even the front of your mind sometimes. So it's just a reality that I grew up with. Not a ton, but enough that you kind of feel like, oh boy, I'm coming. Sorry guys, so that, is what it is. But also, yeah, I was interested in the military. Perhaps just because I couldn't do it, because I learned that, but I still went to a recruiting fair and spoke to every branch to see if they would take me. I think I was looking for a ticket out of my hometown. I love Buffalo, New York now, incredibly. But in high school, I was just looking to get out of there and go see the world or whatever, and thought that'd be a great way to serve and be a part. But that's not an option for type 1 diabetics. And I understand why. I think that's sound reasoning. But, it just feels stinky that you can't have something that you otherwise would have wanted. And also the need for medical insurance. I know they talk about, these 20-somethings or millennials and such who don't have to, they don't actively worry about those things because they don't think they're ever going to need it. They're not going to ever get sick or etc. That's just never been my perspective. I've never had a sense of, oh, this won't matter, because it's always mattered. It's always been a financial awareness and something that's my family said to manage around. Not to share too much personal information, but it's over a month's salary a year just to pay for my medical costs. When you factor that out, there's not too many things that people do that you have nothing you can show for that cost that much. But I'm thankful, I was born in America where we've got some systems in place. We're trying to figure it out, and it's funky, and the price of insulin's going nuts. But at the same time, I can afford it. I've got a nice home, and I can afford a computer and all this stuff. So honestly, I'm not doing that bad. But it's a reality. You're sometimes if you're comparing things, you're like, man, imagine if we weren't spending all of this. But on the flip side, like I said earlier, it's treatable. I can do things with my kids and get around, and so it's a matter what you're focusing on. So if I want to be moody and kind of brood a little bit, I guess I can kind of look to what I don't have and focus on that. But I really do try, especially as I've gotten older, matured a little bit more, hopefully, to just be thankful that it's something that I can manage. It's something that I can afford. It's something that I have people who support me and love me around me to work through. And it's even forced some of those things perhaps to be more cognizant than maybe I would have been otherwise. So it's a big part of who I am. I know it probably impacts my decisions. I've been saving for retirement since I was 14, which is weird. Never had a college fund, but was wanting to make sure I was taken care of when I was old, because my doctors kept saying, suggesting things like, well, if you're not going to be able to see, or, if you're not cut off a foot, or all those kind of scary things. I'm just like, well, better prep up, I guess. So yeah, it's a unique way to come up, and I don't think all type 1 diabetics will do it that way. I think a lot of my own personality and story play into that, but that's kind of how it shaped and informed me. So love to hear from you in the comments below about maybe your experience with it, or if you resonate with my story, or if yours was radically different. I just love the pushback, and maybe there's something I can learn from you. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to also have you subscribe if you wouldn't mind clicking below. I'd love to have some folks gather into the story together. We can kind of walk through this together, and have some other links here you can click for ways to hear more about me and some of the things we're working on here as a type 1 diabetic. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.